Hi, I'm Lance, and I'm a full-time trainer and consultant for sustainability management and reporting. In my career, I've started and sold two small businesses and also worked in companies of different sizes, including two of the largest banks in the world. These varied work experiences enabled me to understand the differences between a large company and an SME very well. When I first started doing sustainability training and consulting, I used to go to events and talks a lot to see what other experts or industry executives had to say about how SMEs should approach sustainability management. And in those events, I often hear the same questions being asked over and over again, but they seldom met with proper answers. So since I've been given a chance to give a masterclass on sustainability to SMEs, I thought I shall try to address those questions with what I think are the more practical answers. Today, we will talk about the following issues. First of all, what is sustainability? Is it the same thing as ESG? And why SMEs should care about sustainability, as well as what certification standards or frameworks should SMEs use? Sustainability actually isn't just a word. It's an entire concept that has its roots in a UN report published in 1987. In this report titled Our Common Future, the UN defines sustainable development as development that meets the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. This report marked the start of the global sustainability movement and the eventual development of the UN Sustainable Development Goals, or UN SDGs, that we hear about so often. But what about the acronym ESG? Where did it come from? In 2004, the United Nations published another report titled Who Cares Wins. In this report, more than 20 global financial institutions, consisting of insurers, banks, and asset managers, they came together with the World Bank to advocate that investors should consider the environmental, social, and governance factors of a company in their investment decisions, hence the acronym ESG. Many investment funds started ESG funds based on this concept. And the basic idea was to incentivize public listed companies to behave well by allocating investments towards those that do. The acronym ESG became more and more popular and was increasingly used by the media. Soon everyone was talking about ESG, and companies started publishing voluntary reports to impress investors and consumers so that their stock price would do well. But more recently, the term ESG has become unpopular due to the backlash it has attracted in US politics. So it is increasingly being replaced by the word sustainability instead. Some folks also prefer to use the term business resiliency now. But no matter what trendy new terminology or acronym is being used or will be used in the future, ultimately the whole point is to make companies act responsibly as a member of society towards the economy, environment, and other human beings. Okay, so far so good. Someone came up with an idea a long time ago to make big companies who created most of the pollution responsible for their environmental and social impact. Politicians and financiers got together to figure out the sticks and carrots to make them accountable. What can go wrong? Well, the alphabet soup was what went wrong. We've mentioned that GRI, the most popular voluntary standard for sustainability reporting in the world, was started in 1997. Since then, a lot of other frameworks and standards have sprouted up across the world. So many acronyms sprouted up that industry practitioners call it the alphabet soup. How many do you think there are? 50? 100? 200? Actually, the real number is closer to 600. That's how many ESG reporting provisions there are in the world when Ernst & Young did a study in 2021. This created a major headache for even the biggest corporations on earth, despite their massive resources. What more for SMEs like yourselves, who mostly do not even have one dedicated, well-trained headcount for sustainability management and reporting. So if this concept of sustainability reporting is to make big companies accountable, then what does it have to do with SMEs? As if SMEs do not have enough to worry about just trying to sustain their business day to day. I agree totally. The reality is businesses exist to make money, not to save the world. So first you have to survive and make money. Then and only then can you look at other things like helping to save the environment. But the catch is this. Your big customers care because their customers and investors care. And more importantly, climate change regulations are being imposed all over the world on big companies. So if you can't meet their ESG standards as a supplier, you will lose their business. Maybe not today, but perhaps tomorrow. Although the push for regulations will rise and fall with political and economic changes, history teaches us that all it takes is one big event to jolt the world, and suddenly things can change overnight. The way climate change is affecting the world now, do you think those big disastrous events will happen sooner, more frequently, or the other way around? So the bottom line is this. Sustainability management for SMEs is really about survival and making money. But beyond bringing in revenue, it will also help you to manage business risks and cut costs, which we'll talk about shortly in our case studies. So the question that often comes up next is this. I'm a SME. I'm convinced sustainability management will help me make money or reduce costs. But where do I start? What areas of sustainability should I be focusing on? What data should I be collecting and reporting? Well, it depends on a few things. What do your biggest customers want from you? What sort of green certifications do your competitors have? And what are the universal issues that most companies will have to deal with in ESG? Let's look at the biggest and most important one first. This is also the single biggest reason why most SMEs will wake up one day and worry about sustainability, losing their customers. Traditionally, most listed companies in the world publish voluntary reports using the GRI standards. Going forward, depending on what country they are based in, they will be required to do mandatory disclosures using an international standard like the ISSB standards or a national or regional standard developed by their government like the ESRS standards for the EU. As part of their reporting requirements, they must submit data and disclosures about their suppliers and value chain partners. Things like greenhouse gas emissions data, waste management and recycling data, pollution and biodiversity management, corporate governance policies, as well as human rights policies. So they will ask you for this information. They may even require you to set targets for sustainability management and report your progress every year. So as an SMB, you do not have to report against these big complicated standards that were meant for big companies to use. But you should understand what their requirements are. Why? Because your biggest customers have to use them. So whatever they want you to disclose, whatever data they need from you, they will be really happy with you if you provided it to them with the kind of quality and completeness that they need for their own reporting obligations. But you don't have to conform to any of these complicated global standards. So don't let any consultants try and sell you an expensive service of creating ESG reports in accordance with any of them. What you should be doing is first and foremost, identifying what your customers want from you and which reporting standards they are using, and then use the relevant parts of those standards to guide you in preparing your data and making your disclosures to them. Now, the second major consideration for what standards to look at is what your peers and competitors are doing. The reason for this is obvious. In a competitive world, especially in the international market, your competition looks better if they have some kind of green certifications compared to you. Whether you're in the B2B or B2C business, this will be the case. But the more important question is, what sort of green certifications should you be going for? And most of the time, such certifications are industry dependent and market dependent. If you sell into the international market or have big MNC customers, then most likely you may be advised to get one or two of these certifications. There are industry agnostic standards that you can consider, such as the ISO 14001 on environmental management systems. Then there is the ISO 14064 for emissions, greenhouse gas emissions data. Globally, the LEED certification for building energy efficiency and the True Zero Waste rating system are also very popular. And many Fortune 500 companies also require their suppliers to obtain an EcoVadis sustainability rating or make some kind of climate disclosures through the CDP rating system. There are also certain sustainability-related certifications that are common within certain industries. For example, companies dealing with forest-based materials, such as wood or paper products, may have heard of the FSC certification. Companies dealing with electrical products may consider getting the Energy Star rating. Companies dealing with food or agricultural products will probably have heard of the Fair Trade label. There are also local versions of such green certifications in major markets such as Europe, China, Japan, and Australia. And here in Singapore, we have the Building and Construction Authority's Green Mark, Singapore Environment Council's Green Label for products, and the National Environment Agency's Energy Label for electrical appliances. It would not be possible to cover all the options for each industry or company in a short presentation like this. But the easiest way for you to find out what is relevant for your business is to Google the biggest and most eco-conscious players in your sector and see what they have obtained. The third answer to what SMEs must look at for sustainability management are the basic universal issues that most companies, big or small, will need to look at in order to be a good corporate citizen. There has been 2 attempts in the world to develop simpler sustainability reporting metrics for SMEs. One was done by the European Union. The other was actually spearheaded by the Monetary Authority of Singapore in collaboration with the UN Development Programme. Now, I won't go into the details of these 2 documents, but I have compared them and summarized here what the common metrics are for the E, S, and G pillars of sustainability reporting. These are the metrics that you should be looking at for a start as a SME. Some are important quantitative numbers that you might already be reporting, such as energy and water consumption, as well as greenhouse gas emissions. Others relate to qualitative disclosures about company policies, such as fair wages and equal opportunities for employees, as well as business ethics and governance issues. These common metrics and disclosures are important to have, as most likely MNCs or financiers' requests for ESG data from you will include most of this. Sometimes sustainability efforts do not even require any money from you. Take, for example, this Metalworks company that installed solar panels on their roof in mid-2023. They were able to reduce their monthly electricity bill by almost half after the installation, and this cost them nothing. The company that provided the solution used an innovative business model to install and manage solar panels for their clients for free. Now, wouldn't you want that for your company? Some of you might be thinking at this point, many businesses are services companies. They only have offices, computers, and employees. What is the relevance of all these buildings, equipment, and product-based certifications for them? Let's take a quick look at how one consulting company in Singapore attained the True Zero Waste certification to enhance their sustainability image. Through a combination of reduce, reuse, recycle, and employee training initiatives, they managed to implement a culture of zero waste and attain the silver rating for the True certification. Such initiatives and certification programs need not be extensive or expensive, but through small and progressive efforts, even pure service-based SMEs can demonstrate their commitment to sustainability management. Well, that's it for today's video. If you have questions or comments and you would like to get in touch with me, please connect with me on LinkedIn or send me an email. Thank you for listening.